So y'all, we've been talking about prioritizing our time, and on this particular topic, I'm breaking down what it means to now organize and prioritize your time. And if you did not get to watch the first part of this topic, which is prioritizing your time and decluttering, I recommend you go watch that before you watch this one. If you have, keep on watching. So, like I said before, a lot of the times we can't prioritize our time because we find ourselves decluttered in our mind. And to my point, when it comes to organizing, you must first declutter. And on this journey of me decluttering and deciding to actually take the time for myself, I found that one, you have to be honest with yourself. Two, you have to be serious and committed to your time. And so organizing and prioritizing your time means that you are clear about what you want in life. You have goals set in place. You have made out a list of the things that you want to change in your life. And I think about my life, and a lot of times when I was not able to organize those particular things, it was because I was cluttered in my mind, and it was time to unclutter those things. And so when we talk about organizing today, I want you to have a mental note in your mind stating that you've already made those necessary steps to be able to actually now organize. And when I say organize, it can be compartmentalizing any area of your life, because at this point, you should already have in your mind who you want to be around, who's going to be around you, what your goals look like, where you see yourself, what you want to do in life. And all these things will start to make sense once you have decluttered the things going on up here. And so for me, it took some time to declutter and to get rid of all the negative things going on in my life. And now I'm in a place where I have been able to compartmentalize a lot of things that I have found that have been beneficial to my growth and my journey. And as I've organized, I will give you a couple of different examples. For one, I'm someone who is very detailed and very organized. And so me being around a bunch of messy people, me being around a bunch of people who don't really care about organizational type skills would not be beneficial for me, because I'm someone who is very to the T about how I like things. And so now I know I can surround myself with like-minded people who also like to be organized, people who also are business oriented. And so I found that about myself. Another thing I would say, I love fashion and I love makeup. And so I watch a lot of makeup content and I make a lot of makeup content. And so it took a while for me to figure out what I was good at, because you see so many makeup artists out there who are doing makeup and are doing it on different scales. You have celebrity makeup artists, you have clientele makeup artists. It's so many different avenues of being a makeup artist that I had to figure out what it was going to be for me. And then also understanding your journey is not my journey. So I had to figure out what my journey was when it came to makeup artistry. And so it's taken some time to understand what God wants to use and how he wants to use my gifts as a makeup artist. And so with that said, I know that God has put me in the lane of being someone who actually likes to train other makeup artists. And I also love to work on models. And so God has really been showing me and shifting me in the sense that he's shown me how to perfect those gifts when it comes to the style of makeup in which I do. And so that was just an example of what it means to organize and prioritize your time, because if you get clear on what you're supposed to be doing, you can then start organizing your time and figuring out what doesn't need to be in your time. And there were people around me in my corner who had different values, who did not really align with the things that I valued. And so I was able to compartmentalize those people and say, okay, we might not be able to hang out every day. I might not be able to text you every day, but we still cool. And so for me, that is also organizing people in your life, because sometimes if you don't have the right people in your life and they're not in the right place, they can really mess up the time that you have. We only get 24 hours a day. And so for me, it's necessary that everything is in proper place, like making sure I balance out my friends, making sure I balance out who's around me, making sure I balance out what my friends are feeding me and what they're doing when I'm around them is very key. Like if you organize what you like, you'll be able to organize who and what you allow to come in your circle. And so for me, there are a lot of things that I don't participate in just because I am a Christian. And being a Christian woman, there are certain things that I'm not going to participate in. And so because I know what my values are, I can organize and compartmentalize the type things I won't do with certain people, the type friends I won't have, and the type things that I won't do when I go out with people. And so when it comes to organizing, you must first think about what it is that you value. How do you like to spend your time? What is important to you? And so God is at the top of my list. Prioritizing God is number one in my life because he's the one that causes everything else to flourish. And so for me, I spend time with him more than I do anything else, or I at least attempt to try to, because if not, everything else will be out of balance. And so for me, organizing means making sure that God is at the top of my list and then prioritizing everything else around that. After that comes my own personal life. So my personal time is very important to me. So that's number 2 on my list. Then it is my family. I'm really big on family. And so I make sure that I make time for my family outside of everything else that I do. And then 4th is work. And then following that are the goals that I have for my life. And so I make sure that I prioritize those things so that there's not an imbalance, because sometimes if you prioritize one thing above the other, it can cause other things to be affected. And so properly organizing your time means making a list of what's important to you. And for me, that is very key, because I know a lot of times I watched a lot of people who, have made it in the industry that have not been able to manage and balance out people in their lives. And so they find themselves like overly consumed with whatever their gifting is and not managing their time as far as spending time with family or making time for themselves. And so I want to have balance in every area. So I try my best to just compartmentalize everything that I do so that there is order and structure in everything, because there are so many different things on my to-do list that I have to be organized to get the job done. And so what I want you to take away from prioritizing your time in this particular section of prioritizing your time and organizing your time is making sure that once you declutter all the things going on in your mind, you actually start to compartmentalize where things should go in your life and what makes sense and what matters most, so that you can be effective in doing what you're called to do and being the best version of yourself.